Welcome everybody. Today we're introducing you to Reefs Go Live. We know that there are many barriers that can prevent your understanding of the ocean, which in turn can impact learning. Coral reefs are the most precious ecosystem on Earth, and time is running out to save them. You appreciate what you understand, and the more we learn about coral reefs, the more we understand how vital they are to our survival. We love and seek to know more about coral reefs. CCMI is located on one of the healthiest reefs in the Caribbean. The famous Bloody Bay Wall is on our doorstep. Our Reefs Go Live program enables us to share what we see every day with both students in their classrooms and citizen scientists who want to actively get involved with protecting coral reefs.
Hi everyone, my name is Katie Correa, coming to you live underwater from the coral reefs around Little Cayman.
Unfortunately, the impact of climate change on the ocean's dynamics, chemistry, and biological diversity has far-reaching implications for humanity. Coral reefs offer a vivid example of how marine systems can be transformed from thriving, vibrant ecosystems to degraded landscapes by high-temperature stress events, hurricanes, or by us. However, reefs can recover from episodic events over relatively short periods of time when the ecological balances are intact. To celebrate World Oceans Day, we invite you to join our team live to give you an insight into how we are working to save coral reefs. We will take you on a journey today of the underwater world and show you how corals are being stressed and what we can all do to help them survive. People ask me all the time, can we save coral reefs? And the answer is yes, but we all have to join the fight.
Everybody, good afternoon again. Thank you for joining us for Reefs Go Live. I really appreciate everybody's patience. I know we've had a little technical difficulties, and that's what happens with the live broadcast. That's part of the excitement. So I want to say thank you to everyone being out there today and joining us, especially to all of you who have already texted us on that WhatsApp number to let us know that there may not have been audio or whatever might be going wrong. Thank you so much for everybody's participation. So we're going to start again, and hopefully everything goes well now. So my name is Ashley. I'm a marine scientist at the Central Caribbean Marine Institute, and today is a special day because it's our World Oceans Day Reefs Go Live broadcast. So I know some of you already marched for the ocean. You're out there now, and I just want to say thank you so much from the whole team for being there joining us today. Today we're going to be talking about a big topic: can we save coral reefs? and we're doing it live right here in Little Cayman. So if you're at the Cayman Bay Cinema right now in Grand Cayman, thank you again for being there. You're going to join me and Katie underwater for a live dive right here to talk about the coral reefs that we see on Little Cayman, some of the impacts they're facing, and most importantly, what we can do to save them. So you guys have already sent some questions and comments into that WhatsApp number. That's going to pop up periodically throughout the episode, but thank you again for that, and if you have any more questions or comments, we'll definitely get to them as best we can. So thank you again for that, and let's go ahead and check to see how our dive team is doing down below. Katie, how does it look down there?
Hey Ashley, we're actually just checking the white balance real quick, and I think it looks okay. White balance, okay?
Yeah, I think everything looks good up here. Maybe a little bit warmer on the main camera.
It's okay.
Cool.
It's okay. I'm trying to signal to Bethany that it's actually okay. She really wants to get it perfect, and I can't blame her for that because we actually started out the dive with the visibility being perfect, and of course, as with all things that are this complicated, the green, nutrient-rich monster has come through, and now it's like a little bit dark down here.
All right, well, I think we're good, Katie, so we're going to do our best throughout it, so go ahead and just introduce yourself as well, and then let's try and get the broadcast started.
Yeah, sounds good. She said she's doing good, so we can go ahead and get started. Hi, everybody. Again, this is like our fourth time doing the introduction, so I really appreciate you guys sticking with it. And as Ashley said, my name is Katie, and I'm a marine scientist here at the Central Caribbean Marine Institute, and we're trying really hard to have you guys join us on a live dive down here from Little Cayman. So basically, the whole audience there in Cayman Bay, you're all my dive buddies, and I really appreciate you guys sticking with this and joining us today for this really cool dive in celebration of World Oceans Day and the International Year of the Reef. So thank you guys so much.
Awesome. So I think we're just going to start right out. Let's go with the basics. What exactly is a coral reef?
Sure, Ashley. We've got this really beautiful coral reef behind me, and there's still some pretty vibrant colors on it, and we do have a couple nice corals that I'd like to highlight. So we've got a couple right here, and I'd like to start by talking about these corals because these are what we call hermatypic corals, or the reef-building corals that built this whole structure that you guys see behind me. Basically, what they do is corals have a calcium carbonate skeleton, which is very similar to our skeletons, actually. And what they do is they build on this skeleton and grow on it over time, building this really large structure. Now, corals are an animal, but seemed very simple, and really they're amazingly complex and beautiful creatures. So this little coral right here, if you look at a coral very closely, has lots of tiny holes in it. And each of these tiny holes actually houses a tiny little polyp. Now, a polyp is like an upside-down jellyfish. And during the day, like right now, they're retracted. They're inside the coral skeleton. But at night, they'll come out of the coral skeleton and their tentacles will be feeding in the water column, trying to grab out for that food. But during the day, like right now, what's happening is the polyps are inside the skeleton because they have a tiny symbiotic algae that lives inside of them called zooxanthellae. And those zooxanthellae were able to take in sunlight and photosynthesize it to provide the coral it needs with about 95% of its nutrients. And at night, when the sun's not out, they put their polyps out and grab for the extra 5% for the food they need. But these corals build up this entire reef here, which is incredible. It's about 45 feet at the bottom, and it's about 30 feet at the top. So it's almost 20 feet of reef. It's really awesome. And there's not just corals on this reef, as you can see. There are soft corals, like this gorgonian here. There's sponges, like this orange icing sponge connecting these corals here. There's macroalgae, which is all over. And then, of course, if you look, there's a yellowtail goatfish. There's some blue chromis in the water column. It's home to all kinds of creatures that all make up this important ecosystem.
So, Katie, that was a beautiful explanation, and I actually want to just quickly throw in one of the questions we got already. Lily wants to know what corals eat. I think that was a very appropriate question right off the bat.
Oh, yeah. What do coral eat? That's a great question. That was from Lily?
Yes.
Cool. Thanks, Lily. Coral, as I said, they work in that symbiotic relationship with that algae that lives inside of the coral polyps. And that algae is transferring energy from the sun through photosynthesis. That's where they get most of their food from. But when they're reaching out and grabbing, I know that the color that you're seeing on this camera probably looks pretty good, but really up close, there's like millions of tiny little microscopic plankton living in this water column right here in front of us. And when the coral picks its polyps out, it's grabbing that zooplankton or that phytoplankton right out of the water and pulling it in and digesting it. And what's really cool is, since the coral is a colony of many different polyps, any of that food that's grabbed by one polyp actually gets shared evenly throughout the entire coral colony with the rest of the polyps. So, very cool.
That's great. So, coral reefs really are just this unique and diverse place that offers so many benefits to humans and to the world. Let's talk a little bit about some of the reasons coral reefs are so important, maybe economically and ecologically.
Absolutely. I mean, right off the bat, Bethany and I are looking at what could potentially be a nice little cleaning station. And there's little juvenile blue chromis that are living on it, and they're just so vibrantly blue. I mean, they're really beautiful looking corals, or sorry, beautiful fishes. And I mean, when you think about what these reefs have to offer as far as monetary value, I mean, people come worldwide to Little Cayman's reefs. And in Grand Cayman as well, at the cinema where you guys are watching from, there are some incredible reef systems around our islands. And worldwide, coral reefs are bringing in about $170 billion, whether it's in fishing or diving or snorkeling. And Cayman reefs have actually been estimated at bringing in between $1 and $2 billion a year for the worth of the reef. So that right there is a hugely important reason for keeping economic stability within our country.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a lot of money coming to corals all over the world, and I actually heard of this really great artist that basically put false precious stones onto dead corals to show their value, and I love seeing art and science put together. I think that's a great way to show it sometimes.
Yeah, that was at the National Gallery. I saw that. It was awesome.
Right. It was Caitlin Elphinstone, I believe was her name. Yeah. So besides being economically important, we are getting into hurricane season. I know coral reefs are important for that reason. Can you talk to us about that, Katie?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I said, the sand here where we're diving is about 55 feet or so. And then right now I'm at 36 feet. So, I mean, it's about a 20-foot difference between the bottom of this reef and the very top. So if you think about it, all three of our Cayman Islands are surrounded by a beautiful fringing reef system. And that fringing reef system is our first line of defense as people against storms and storm damage. So when those really big rolling waves come in or big surge, before they ever hit land, they hit our reefs. And the reefs absorb a lot of that energy so that our coastlines are protected. And what's on our coastlines is us, our homes and our families. So they're really important for keeping us safe. So investing in keeping them around is a really good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's unfortunate, but over the past 100 years or so, a lot of these storms seem to be happening more often and are much more powerful. Why is that?
That's due to climate change, and I'm sure that nobody out there is unaware of this hot topic right now in research. But climate change is essentially the fact that our climate is changing. Summers are getting hotter and winters are getting colder. Storms are happening more frequently and out of season, and they're lingering. They're staying around a lot longer to do more damage. And that's because we humans, even if we don't mean to, are actually putting excess carbon dioxide into our atmosphere from things like burning fossil fuels and burning coal in factories and powering our cars. And that carbon dioxide is getting trapped in the atmosphere, and it's becoming super saturated. Now, what's happening then is that all that excess carbon dioxide is sinking into the oceans, because the oceans act as a gigantic carbonic sink, since there's about 75% of the world covered in it, and a lot of that is going directly into our coral reefs. So, really, climate change is a big problem for our coral reefs these days.
Absolutely, and that's where a lot of these filter feeders that are out in the ocean are also very important. Is that correct?
That is correct, and actually, I have a really cool demonstration for you guys, a sponge pumping demo, and I did see, oh yeah, down here, the perfect sponge that I want to show you. Sponges are a key filter feeder, and what they're able to do is take in the surrounding seawater and bring it into their bodies and pump it out the top of their chimney. And they're taking in all of the nutrients in that water. And sometimes the nutrients for a sponge is pollutants for us or for other creatures. And then when they pump the rest of that out, it's cleaning our oceans. So, I do have a fluorescent dye here that I think one of our divers just went to go get earlier with all of the running around on the reef. I think it got handed to a different diver, so our diving safety officer is just going to get that for me, but I really want to show you this sponge, so I don't want to leave it.
I think now is a good time because, Katie, you've done this demonstration in the past, and we have fantastic footage of that. So
we do.
Yeah, we're going to show that right now, and once it starts up, I think it'd be great if you could talk us through, which now is a good time for that.
Sure, absolutely, and Joe actually just got it, so while you're showing that, I can get ready here as well. Now, what's going to happen is I'm going to put this fluorescent dye all around the base of the sponge, and the sponge is going to be able to take in that surrounding seawater, bring it into its body, and how it does that is because a sponge, although another simple looking animal, is really quite incredible. They have specialized cells called choanocytes, and choanocytes are able to generate a small current of water, and in that current of water they bring in all of that surrounding nutrients, and then they get rid of the excess nutrients they don't need through their chimney, through the very top, or an oocyte. So I've got this fluorescent dye now, and the sponge happens to be the same color. I'm going to inject the surrounding area of this sponge with the fluorescent dye, and hopefully it's a hungry sponge and we can get it to pump some of it through its body, so it may take just a minute.
Katie, while you're doing that, we have a great question that's very relevant to where we are right now.
Sure.
Joanna has asked, or she said that Little Cayman's reefs are often described as pristine. What makes them so special?
Oh, that's an awesome question.
It is.
Oh, look at this one as it started to go as we asked that question. That's an excellent question. That was from Johanna?
Yes, or Joanna.
Sweet. Well, Joanna, that's an awesome question. I think what makes Little Cayman coral reefs so special is that we have a lot less anthropogenic impacts here than we do in Grand Cayman and even more so other areas of the world where they're suffer from overpopulation, or if they have any kind of dredging or other human impacts. That's what anthropogenic means, is human impacts. So you can see this sponge pumping out there. So imagine that's pollutants or nutrients in the water column that it's taking in and then getting rid of the excess through the top, which is really cool to see how it cleans our oceans. Sorry, Joanna, I'll get back to your question now. But Little Cayman's reefs, and even the reefs in Grand Cayman, they're special because they don't have a lot of the same issues that other reefs in the world have. Thanks, Joe. Basically, the reefs here are relatively untouched. And what I mean when I say that is we humans often have a lot of impact on the reef, and we don't mean to, but we do. So areas like the Cayman Islands, they don't have to worry a lot about, specifically Little Cayman, they don't have to worry about cruise ship damage. They don't have to worry about a lot of excess pollutants in the water because there's so few of us here. Anchor drags. We have a great marine park system that the Department of Environment maintains really well. A lot of mooring balls. 365 of them to be exact, all around all of the Cayman Islands. And by using those mooring balls, we're not having to put an anchor out onto the reef, and we're able to take a lot better care of it. So I think that's why we say that these reefs are pristine. They're relatively untouched by humans.
Right. So that's part of what's so exciting to be here right now, especially when we pay top dollar sometimes to dive on these reefs. So I want to jump ahead a little bit and talk about some of the dynamic structures that we see on reefs. They're really just this complex and beautiful system. So let's talk a little bit about the complexity and the dynamic structures and maybe the kind of fish that are there both recreationally and commercially.
Sure. I mean, right over here we've actually got a couple little yellowtail goatfish that are kind of just hanging out in the water column together in a little mini school. And the reason that they've sought out this particular spot is because they're either getting food or shelter on this reef. Now, a big problem with climate change and that excess carbon dioxide being in the atmosphere and then getting absorbed into the oceans and hurting our reefs is called ocean acidification. Now, if ocean acidification continues to increase, then all of these coral structures are going to have a very hard time growing because they're taking in a certain amount of that calcium for their calcium carbonate structure. But with ocean acidification, that's actually where carbonic acid is formed. And that dissolves coral reefs or dissolves the limestone structure. Now, essentially, corals like this coral right here, which is the this is the Orbicella species, or the massive star coral. And what's happening with this coral is it's growing about 1 to 2 centimeters a year. Other branching species, like what we have in our coral nursery, or there are some smaller branching species just out here, a Porites divaricata, or a pencil coral, they're growing about 10 centimeters a year. But if we're putting excess carbon dioxide into the atmosphere and it's coming into the ocean, carbonic acid could dissolve coral reefs faster than they're able to build themselves. And that means that without all of these little ledges and kind of shaded spots, these fish wouldn't have a home to go into to hide from predators, or they wouldn't have a reef to be able to feed off of all the smaller fishes as well. So without this complex structure, the fishes would have to find elsewhere to call home.
Yeah, definitely. So I want to get this question.
Oh, wow, there's a large stingray swimming right behind us up the reef there.
Which is great because the question I was about to ask you is from Artie, who's age 3, and he wanted to know what the biggest fish you see on this reef is.
Oh, that's so funny. I hope we can see it. It's kind of swimming farther away now. It just swam right up beneath our camera lady, Bethany, and she had no idea, and then it swam over the reef here. The biggest fish I've ever seen on this reef, well, I have to say, I did not see it, but one of our researchers, Dr. Claire Dell, and her research assistant, their second day here on the reefs of Little Cayman, saw a 16-foot hammerhead shark. And
Wow.
that's probably the biggest I've heard in Little Cayman in a long time, and that was pretty. I saw pictures, so it really did happen.
Right, we need pictures for proof. So, one of the other questions that came in had to do with plastic pollution, and I actually think that that's a good topic because we were going to talk about that anyway. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, Katie, what can you tell us about
That's a
plastic
great
pollution
question.
and our impact in that regard?
So plastic pollution is a big passion of mine personally, as well as CCMI really putting another step forward in our conservation and sustainability efforts. Now, I happen to have in my pocket, as I was hoping that someone would talk about this, or ask this question, a plastic bag. Because single-use plastics, like this plastic bag, are one of the biggest issues that our coral reefs are facing today. And if I just let this go in the water column, think about what this might look like to a creature that's out feeding in the middle of the open sea or on the coral reef. What does that look like to everyone?
Well, that looks like a jellyfish to me, Katie.
I would have to agree, Ashley. If I let this go, I would be willing to bet that the hawksbill sea turtle that I saw a little while ago would come along and eat this thinking that it's a jellyfish. And this is obviously not digestible in their stomach. And they breathe air just like we do. So if this got stuck and they came to the surface of the water to breathe and couldn't, this is the reason why. So this is a very simple way that all of us can reduce our impact on coral reefs by actually refusing single-use plastics like the plastic bag and the plastic straw.
Absolutely. So reducing our impact is one of the great things we can do, and I want to address one of the questions that came in. I think it's from Diana, and it had to do with the dye that you used for the sponge. She was curious if that was safe for the environment.
Yes, it absolutely is, Diana. That dye we get is from a special laboratory in the United States that actually manufactures fluorescent dye that is not harmful as far as we know. Otherwise, we would never be putting it out on our very sensitive and pristine coral reefs, as we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, definitely. So, really quickly, how are you guys doing on air down there?
I've got about a half a tank, so I think we're pretty good to keep going and answer more questions because you guys have had a lot of really great questions.
Yeah, and I'm so appreciative of all the interaction and all the questions coming in. So thank you to everyone out there. So another thing that I think we can talk about in regards to our impact with the oceans and with the reefs is maybe, unfortunately, some other negative ones that we could talk about, and it kind of goes back to the fisheries and something that maybe we can do to help avoid some of that negative impact. Like, I know there's a lot of great ones that we like to eat, like groupers and snappers, and
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I can say that, you know, we say we're doing a lot of harm to coral reefs, but we're actually doing a lot of good things too. And one of the things that's kind of a hot topic right now here in the Cayman Islands is the creation of marine protected areas or replenishment zones and other kinds of coastal zone management. And that is just one of the greatest things that we can do for our environment because a lot of research goes into where a marine protected area will be placed. And it's not to say, hey, don't go fishing there. It's just to say, hey, we need to protect a resource or a species that is in this area. So please don't fish here or don't dive here. And marine protected areas have been proven to work because what they're doing is they're enabling a resource or a species to recover or to get back to a more sustainable population, and then they're able to reproduce more often. Their gametes kind of float around in the water column and create a higher level of genetic biodiversity on the reef. So this is a great way that we humans are actually preserving our ocean environment.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, there's a lot of research that goes into marine protected areas.
Yeah.
And, it's not necessarily to say that we can't fish anymore, because fishing is a great activity and it's a lot of fun, and it's definitely some people's livelihoods as well. So, there's a lot of research that goes in, and there's a lot of adaptive strategies for that as well, to make sure that it's in place as things change and as species move. So I want to go quickly to another one of these questions right now. Let's see.
I want Bethany to see there's a little trumpet fish here in the soft coral for everybody to see. He's kind of hiding there, vertical in this soft coral, like we can't see him, but we can see him.
So Jack asked, how easily are coral reefs destroyed?
Oh, Jack, that's a rough question. I mean, honestly, coral reefs are very sensitive, but I have seen a large marine animal or two sit on a coral, and the coral does fragment, but that's also a kind of reproduction. A lot of these corals, not only do they reproduce through a massive spawning event every year, where they're releasing all of their gametes into the water column, but they also naturally break apart, and those fragments will roll around until they find a suitable habitat to reestablish themselves. So they are very delicate, and we must do all we can to save them. However, I don't think they're as delicate as maybe you think.
Right, and that's actually where, things like that CCMI are doing right now. We have this wonderful coral restoration program, and that's definitely been growing to more and more areas around the world. So Katie, can you talk a little bit about the coral restoration work that we do, and just in general how that helps assist the coral reefs in the natural world?
Absolutely. I just think it's so funny. If you guys in the cinema audience, there's a little cocoa damselfish just terrorizing this trumpet fish. Clearly, this cocoa damsel has a nest somewhere around here and is trying to get this trumpet fish to just get out of its area. It's just quite funny. And damselfish are actually one of the predators or harmful little fish for staghorn corals in our nursery as well. And you watch him, you can see why. He's very aggressive and bold. He's just absolutely picking at that trumpet fish. But anyway, you asked about the coral nurseries, and coral nurseries are another great way that we humans are making a positive impact on the reefs. We're able to not bring back the populations of coral to what they used to be, but what we're doing is growing coral in a controlled nursery setting where we can take care of them and make sure they're 100% happy and healthy. And then once they grow large enough, we can outplant them onto a reef just like this and connect natural populations with our nursery-grown populations, so that all together, when they have that one spawning event a year, all of their gametes go up into the water column, they mix all around, and then they will make new baby zygote corals. And as they're starting to build calcium carbonate, they'll settle onto the reef in the areas of free space on the reef, which, as you can see around me, there's not a lot of free space. So this unto itself can be very difficult, and by having coral nurseries all around the Cayman Islands, we have some in Grand Cayman with eco divers on the west side, as well as, of course, here at CCMI, and we're even potentially starting some on the Brac as well. So if we all connect our islands, we can assist the reefs in helping themselves in the future, and therefore preserving these incredible ecosystems that we have all around all three of our islands.
Definitely. So I just want to quickly address, it's raining right here in Little Cayman. We don't have that beautiful sunlight that helps to normally light up this reef and make it really pop. So I've got a tarp behind me right now to prevent it from getting on all the equipment on the boat here. And,
nice.
yeah, so also down where you are, Katie, you know, we don't have that sunlight making all the coral reefs pop normally, which, by the way, was one of the questions before, is how do corals get their color? So maybe you can just quickly answer that as well.
Absolutely, I can definitely answer that. That was whose question?
I lost the name of that one. I don't think they gave it.
No worries. So I'm happy to tell you about why reefs have their color. As Ashley said, it's a little bit ironic because we don't have that natural light right now. And what we're going to do is I'm actually going to give Joe our main camera so that he can do the main camera. And then we are going to try to find a colorful coral so that you guys can see the difference in the color here. So
that question, by the way, was from Brittany. Thank you,
Brittany. Cool. So, Brittany, come with me, and we'll look at this coral right here. This is one of my favorite corals, actually. It's a kind of mycetophilia, or a fleshy coral. And that name is really misleading because it's actually not fleshy at all. It just looks fleshy. So this coral here has a purple interior and a red kind of ridge. So the ridges here are almost a dark brown red color and the insides are purple. Now what's giving that coral its color is the zooxanthellae living inside of it. So the same symbiotic algae that gives the coral its food is also giving it the incredible color. Now you see that there's many different corals on the reef with different colors, and that's totally okay because there's many different kinds of zooxanthellae and they all behave and look a little bit different. So depending on which zooxanthellae live in that coral gives it its color.
Great, very simple, right? All right, thank you for that question. So just to clarify, we've also had some other questions coming in about when they see white corals or if people touch corals, and is that killing it? So I think that's a great topic to bring up. So, you know, maybe address what happens when we see a white coral, and then also necessarily if we see people touching it or standing on corals, what impact that has on the reef and corals.
Yeah, I saw a coral over here, which is why I'm signaling to you guys and Joe to come with me, which looks a little white to me, and I wanted to get it on camera. Oh, here it is. So I think this might be, unfortunately, a coral disease right here at the base of this fabulata. So that white area at the bottom of the coral, that is no longer living tissue, unfortunately. And I don't know what has caused that disease, but it could have been someone touching it. Unlikely, because it's at the base of this colony, so it's probably a bacteria or a pathogen or something that was crawling around on the bottom of the reef and then crawled up onto the colony, slowly eating it as it goes. But if we were to touch this coral, then that would actually stress the coral out more, because if any of you guys in the audience, I'm sure that some of you are fishermen or fisherwomen, and you've taken a fish off a hook, it feels really slimy on your hands. Corals would feel the same if you ever did touch one, but I know that you won't. But what that sliminess is a mucopolysaccharide layer. Big complicated word. Basically what it means is the animal secretes mucus. And that mucus is actually protecting the coral from diseases and from pathogens or bacteria that's floating around in the water column, just like all the food, like the plankton that it eats. Now, if we touch this coral, we're going to take that mucus layer off with our fingers. Accidentally, but we will. And that leaves the coral open to disease. So not touching coral reefs is very, very important because ultimately they need that mucus layer to protect themselves.
Right, and so when we see bleached corals, what's happening also is that little microscopic algae that zooxanthellae has left, and it's unsure whether the coral kicks it out or if the zooxanthellae decide to leave. But that's when we see a bleached coral, and it's not necessarily dead at that point. And one of the questions that came in is, what is the time frame between corals bleaching and actually dying? And that's usually, it probably depends on species, but that's also, you get maybe a few weeks. If conditions do not improve, then the coral will start to die, and once you see algae growing on it, that's the sign that the coral has then died. But a white coral doesn't necessarily mean a dead one, right, Katie?
Absolutely. And, I've been keeping my eye out on the reef for white or bleaching or paling coral, and I'm not seeing any. Now, I do have about 82 degrees Fahrenheit down here, so it's still not too hot, and we usually see our warmest times around September or August, so hopefully we won't have a bleaching event this year. And right now, most of the corals down here seem to look pretty happy, besides this one here with that disease that I pointed out, but still not bleaching, so that's a good sign thus far.
Absolutely. So let's talk about, I think in the macro camera right now, we've got an urchin in there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, definitely. So we're looking at an urchin right now in the reef, which is great on the macro shot. And just to relate it back to when we were talking about oceans being a carbonic sink, this is a type of species that could easily be affected by that. So what happens is their calcium carbonate skeleton, as Katie mentioned, becomes a little bit weaker with that, and they can't grow quite as strong. And that's a great sign to see urchins on reef as well. So it's really good we've got that there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm also glad to hear that, because we mentioned earlier about the key herbivores on the reef, and urchins are a huge part of that. Urchins and parrotfishes. So
right.
It's also during the day, which most urchins don't come out until night because they're nocturnal creatures that feed at night. But seeing one on the reef in the middle of the day, that's an awesome sign. It means it's getting plenty of food, so that's sweet.
Yeah. So we've got about 5 to 10 minutes left in this episode right now. Katie, how's your air?
I got about 1,200 PSI, and Joe and I are currently trying to show you guys a stingray.
Oh, okay, great.
There's a southern stingray down here feeding with a couple porgies and a mutton snapper and a barjack, and I wonder how close it will let us get to it.
That's one of those things. Obviously, we want to have a bright, sunny day for an episode like this, but it's the rainy days like this that bring so much life to the reef, so I love seeing that right now.
Absolutely. I'm trying to, cautiously get to it. Now, what's happening is that this stingray is nuclear hunting with these fish, and these fish are really, they're scavengers and kind of lazy, if I'm honest. It's called a commensalism symbiotic relationship. And basically, the stingray is doing all the work. He's doing all the hunting and the feeding. And then this barjack and this mutton snapper are kind of reaping the benefits of the waste that the stingray is going to pump through those spiracles or those holes behind its eyes, waiting for any of that little waste to come through so they can nip at it and get it.
Very cool. I'm looking at the footage now. So we have a great question, and I think it's one of the ways that we can actually start to bring this broadcast to an end on a positive note. So we were asked, what can ordinary citizens do to protect coral? And I'm so glad that question was asked.
Oh my gosh, that is awesome. I love that, because the whole premise of this broadcast is, can coral reefs be saved?
Absolutely.
And I think that they can be saved, and really it's up to all of us. It's not up to only marine scientists. It's up to every single one of you guys in the audience that love the ocean to do what you can to save these coral reefs and these animals that are on it. And really, we can do a lot for it. We can all choose to refuse those single-use plastics, or to not get a plastic bag at the grocery store, to not get a straw, to remember your 5 R's: reduce, reuse, recycle, refuse single-use plastics, and rethink. That's number 5, is rethink how each of us and each of you is living your lifestyle or choosing to live your lifestyle, because if we carpool to work every day together, you're minimizing that carbon footprint. If you are not getting those plastic grocery bags, again, you're minimizing your carbon footprint. If you're buying local food from the farmer's market, then you're not contributing to the shipping in of food from other countries when you could be getting food that's homegrown right there on Grand Cayman. So there's so many ways that every single one of you guys, as well as myself, can minimize our carbon footprint and help ultimately save this incredible coral reef that's behind me.
Absolutely. And you know, the 5 R's, reduce, reuse, recycle, rethink, and refuse, is a great one. That's something so simple for us to do as well. And while we're on that topic, I want to talk about the Cayman Islands Brewing Company, because they actually recycle their, I know it's not plastic, but they're the glass bottles. So they recycle those, and they donate $2 for every case to CCMI. So a huge thank you to K-Brew for doing that, especially during the International Year of the Reef.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. So, you know, Katie, I hear you say this all the time. You always say, the time is now. Now is the time.
I knew you were going to say that.
So the time is now to protect our reefs for the future. And, yeah, so I just want to say thank you for that. And, Katie, I think now would be a great time for you to start saying your thank yous and goodbyes and wave goodbye to everybody. So we're going to wrap up this wonderful episode right now.
All right, well, before we log off, I just want to say thank you to all of you guys sitting there in the Cayman Bay Cinema, and to everyone who tuned into this very special broadcast. I guess there's so much to say about coral reefs in general and what all of us can do to help save them. But at the end of the day, it's up to you guys. It's up to us. It's our responsibility. You know, we have done a lot of harm, but we can also do a lot of good. So all I want to say is thank you so much to joining us and sticking it out. And if every single one of you can take one of the lessons that you learned today, and I hope you did learn something, and spread the word. Share what you've learned with your friends and your family, and try to get everyone to do that last little bit to help save these incredible coral reefs. So thanks for being my dive buddies, guys, and I hope you'll join us for our next Reefs Go Live so that we can continue all of the incredible lessons that there are to be learned on reefs like this.
Yeah, absolutely, Katie. Thank you so much. We'll see you topside in a bit.
All right, sounds good, Ashley.
So for the rest of us here, thank you so much for coming out and joining us today. Thank you to everyone in the Cayman Bay Cinema for marching, for being there, for all of your support, for all of your questions and interactions with us. That's part of why we do this live broadcast, to be able to bring you to this environment. And I hear a lot of times, you know, with the jobs that we're in as marine scientists or marine biologists or spending times on the ocean, you hear a lot, gosh, you have the best job in the world. But it's not just up to us, it's up to everyone as well. So everybody's support and the way that you can help impact the environment in a positive way all makes a difference, especially the more we learn about it and bring that to our local government. That's a big thing we can all do as well. So thank you for joining us today. Thank you for your patience with all the technical difficulties and for still being there. And we hope to see you next time. Thank you to everybody again. See you next time.